Good morning and welcome to the Fund It Fast Chat. I am Rochelle Butler, Energy Manager with the San Joaquin Valley Clean Energy Organization. Thank you so much for being with us this morning, and I hope everyone is enjoying a great week. We are going to get going momentarily, but first, let's take care of our housekeeping. Please make note that all of your microphones have been muted upon joining the call. This is simply to minimize background noise. As always, if you have any questions at all, I encourage you to go ahead and submit those questions using the chat box. You may do so at any point during the presentation, and we will be sure to save time at the end to address all of your questions. Next, I would like to invite everyone to connect with us. You may do so on any one of many platforms. You can find us on Twitter, on Instagram, on Spotify, or you could just reach out the old-fashioned way via email or by telephone. And if you didn't quite get all of that, don't worry. Just remember you can access any of our resources by going to our website at sjvcleanenergy.org. One more time, that's sjvcleanenergy.org. And with that, we are going to jump right in. So for those of you who are regulars here at the Fund It Fast Chat, know that now is the time I like to take a quick moment and talk about related topics. So topics that we've covered in the past that are related to this month's topic. We're all Californians here, which means we're all painfully aware of the drought. Because of the state of emergency we're currently in, there are lots of programs and even re-promoting of existing programs to help communities deal with the water shortage. We've actually talked quite a bit about water in the past during the Fund It Fast Chat. I have a list here on your screen, most of which are programs that are still operating right now. We have covered financing water projects in the Water Financing Fast Chat. We've talked about WIFIA, which is a federal water infrastructure program which offers low-interest financing for water infrastructure projects. We've also talked about Water Smart grants. We all like opportunities for grant funding, money we don't have to pay back. We have talked about the California Water Resources Board and some of their other programs, and we have also covered the Small Community Drought Relief Program. So when you have a quick moment, I encourage you to go ahead and check them out. There's a lot of really good information there. And while you are over there checking out our YouTube page, please don't be afraid to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. In all transparency, this does help us out, but more importantly, it helps folks just like yourself to find our content. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay, so what is the Small Community Drinking Water Funding Program? Well, the program is overseen by the Office of Sustainable Water Solutions. What is the Office of Sustainable Water Solutions? The Office of Sustainable Water Solutions was established by Assembly Bill 92 to promote permanent and sustainable drinking water and wastewater treatment solutions to ensure effective and efficient provision of safe, clean, affordable, and reliable drinking and wastewater treatment services. Well, that's a mouthful. The office actually focuses on addressing financial and technical assistance needs, particularly for small and disadvantaged communities through the Small Community Funding Program. So who's eligible to apply for this funding? Well, eligible applicants include small disadvantaged communities, or DACs. A DAC, for the purposes of this program, is defined as a community with a population of no more than 10,000 persons and with a combined median household income, MHI for short, of less than 80% of the statewide MHI. It's also defined as those providing service to less than 10,000 people, and those with eligible drinking water capital improvement projects. So I'll get a little bit more into what the eligible projects look like shortly. Applicants are also publicly owned community water systems. These would be those that are owned by like the cities or the counties or districts or special districts, we may know them as. Privately owned community water systems, which would include for-profit water utilities and nonprofit mutual water companies. Also, under eligible applicants would be nonprofit or publicly owned non-community water systems. So these would be like a school district or something of that nature. And then finally, community water systems that are created by the proposed project. So this funding would actually fund the establishment of a new community water system. So something to keep in mind there. Okay, so what are eligible projects? It's actually very broad, and it includes the planning and design and also the construction of drinking water infrastructure projects. So they can be water treatment systems, water distribution systems, interconnections, consolidations of existing water infrastructure, pipeline extensions. It also includes, the purchasing of water sources, water meters, or water storage tanks. So this list you see on here is not an exhaustive list, but it's just enough to give you some guidance on what types of projects the funding covers. All right, so let's talk about what the money looks like. So the financing terms are actually set forth in the 2021-2022 Drinking Water Intended Use Plan. So this is just a giant document that it's published each year, and this is where you'll find all of the minute details of the program. So I will include a link to that plan in your follow-up email after the call this afternoon, in case you want to kind of do a deeper dive and see what more the details look like. In a nutshell, though, there are grants and principal forgiveness mechanisms that are available to publicly owned water systems or nonprofit mutual water companies that serve DACs. So in order to qualify, there's a little bit of additional criteria for the grant and loan forgiveness portion. I'll just mention briefly, the funding for grants and loan forgiveness actually comes from Proposition 1 and Proposition 68. This is available to small DACs, expanded small DACs, and also non-DACs whose projects fall within category A through C, which means it's very high on the priority list for the program. So these would be projects that fall within the immediate health risk category, or the untreated or at-risk water sources category, or the compliance or shortage category. So under those specific categories, there's a little leeway in terms of the applicant being a DAC or not being a DAC. Additionally, there are interest rates available as low as 0%. Again, the 0% interest rate is available to public water systems serving small DACs. Loan repayment terms are generally up to 30 years or the useful life of the project or the asset. And finally, repayment begins within 1 year of the completion of the project. So let's talk about what the application process looks like. So it is a multi-step application process, but I'll go through it. I'll go through it briefly here, but mainly it's to kind of help the applicant along the way, and you'll see what I'm talking about in just a moment. So the first step of the application process is the pre-application. So this step includes, you'll answer some general questions about the project and the facility, as well as the type of funding that's being requested. The DFA, the Department of Financial Assistance, that's the actual entity that reviews the applications. Their staff accepts the applications on a continuous basis. Applications that are received by the 20th of each month will be reviewed, and the applicant can expect to hear back from them by the 10th of the following month. So just an example, if you submit your application prior to July 20th, this month, you can expect to hear something back from the agency by August 10th. So kind of gives you an idea of what the timeline looks like. You can complete that pre-application by using the FAST tool, F-A-A-S-T. That is short for Financial Assistance Application Tool. And I'll make sure you have a link to that as well in your follow-up email after the call today. Now, the next step of the application process is the initial eligibility screening. And so this is where, you know, more of that kind of assistance comes into play, like I mentioned just a moment ago. This is the part of the application process where the DFA will actually evaluate the project and determine what funding is most appropriate for that specific project. There's a lot of other buckets of funding that are available out there, and if the project meets the eligibility criteria. And then finally, once you've completed those first two steps, the final step will be the planning and construction application. If any of you on the call have applied for water board funding before in the past, they use a very similar or the same application for planning and construction. So if you've done this before, then it's going to be the same application, chances are. All right. So let's talk about technical assistance. So this is a really important portion of the offering because most of our small disadvantaged communities don't have or may not have the resources to design a water system or water infrastructure of that level. It's a really technical undertaking. So to address that, there's the Technical Assistance or TA funding program, which is available, as I said, specifically for small disadvantaged communities that have a considerable resource barrier to planning these types of projects. The TA funding program is available to assist with development, funding, and implementation of drinking water, wastewater, stormwater, and groundwater projects. The TA funding program, however, is not just limited to coordination and development of capital improvement projects. It also assists with things like operation and maintenance, O&M, engineering and environmental analyses, legal assistance, leak detection, and water audit. So I won't read the entire list for you, but they'll give you a good sense of what the Technical Assistance Funding Program scope is to cover. All right, and that is all I have for the Small Community Drinking Water Funding Program for now. So I'm going to pause right here for questions. Once again, if you have any questions, please take a couple of seconds, drop them in the chat box if you haven't done so already. While folks are working on that, I would just like to remind everyone to please look out for our follow-up email later on today. I know I mentioned it a couple of times during the presentation. That email will have links to all of the related fast chats I mentioned at the top of the presentation, so you don't have to go searching around for them. That email will also have links to important resources and information that I referenced during the presentation. Lastly, take a quick second and add us to your email contacts. We want to be sure you're receiving our communications so you can stay up to date on what's going on around the partnership. That email is info@sjvcleanenergy.org. Once again, that is info@sjvcleanenergy.org. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and take a quick peek at our chat box. And I don't see any questions there just yet. I hope that means that I explained everything clearly enough. And so since there aren't any questions, I'll go ahead and close this out. What's next for the Fund It Fast Chat? We will be back with you on August 9th. I hope you'll join us for that Fund It Fast Chat. We will be discussing the Active Transportation Program. Then we'll be back yet again on September 13th to discuss the Regional Climate Collaborative Program. So there's a lot of really good stuff coming up that we have planned coming into the next couple of months. Of course, we hope to see you for every episode of the Fund It Fast Chat. But if you can't make it for whatever reason, just remember all Fast Chats are recorded and they can be accessed through our website or by going directly to our page on YouTube. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel while you're there. As always, thank you everyone for joining us this morning. I hope you have a wonderful week and I hope you all stay safe and stay healthy. Until next time.